As that rocket attack on the house near Tel Aviv. 7 Israelis injured there. Prime Minister Netanyahu cut his American trip short to get back to Israel. So come on in, Farley Weiss. He is the president of the National Council of Young Israel. Farley, I don't want to be too extreme here, but this is an exchange of fire. Is it possible that they'll go to war?
It's unclear where everything will go at this point in time. But it's a very serious situation because Hamas has no moral qualms to go and attack civilians wherever they can. They're the epitome of terrorism and of evil.
I've not heard anything from Ilhan Omar about Hamas or attacks on Israel or Israel going after Hamas. I don't think she's said anything, has she?
I haven't heard anything from her or Rashida Tlaib. And I think that we shouldn't hold our breath to hear anything from them. They don't seem to side with Israel. They seem to side with the terrorists.
OK, update us, please, on the effort to get more Jewish Americans to vote Republican.
Again, we don't take positions on who you should vote for, but I think that it's important that people try to think that these issues are not important to the Jewish community. In 2 different presidential elections, one involving Jimmy Carter. In 1976, Jimmy Carter got over 70% of the Jewish vote, and in 1980, he dropped to 45% of the Jewish vote because he was perceived as being unfriendly to Israel and towards the Jewish community. And then when George H.W. Bush was president, and he had James Baker as Secretary of State, and he was perceived as being unfriendly to the Jewish community, his Jewish support dropped from 35% when he beat Michael Dukakis to 12% when he faced President Clinton. There's 20 to 25% of the Jewish vote that will change when there's a gap between the candidates for president as it relates to Israel. And it looks very likely such a gap will exist in this upcoming election. So
do you think then in 2020 there will be a swing of Jewish voters, some at least, towards President Trump?
I think it's going to be a significant swing. If you saw with President Obama, he was not perceived as a strong supporter of Israel. He went from 78% of the Jewish vote against Senator McCain to 69% of the vote against Mitt Romney. And President Obama tried to present himself as being pro-Israel before that election. And most of his actions against Israel came after his term was nearly over. And so I think in this case, where President Trump has done all these significant things towards Israel, that there will be a significant gap and that the Jewish vote will change to where President Trump will get at least 35 and possibly 40% or more of the Jewish vote in the next election.
Farley Weiss, thanks for joining us, sir. This is a story I really want to stay on top of. I found it fascinating. Sir, thanks for joining us this morning. We really appreciate it. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Stuart.
All right, take a look at the big board because we're holding on to a nice